My name is David Gooblar. I'm an assistant professor of English and Gender, Women's, and Sexuality Studies at the University of Iowa. I'm not a scholar of racial injustice or racialized violence or police brutality. My research is on college teaching. I wanted to contribute to the teach-in by sharing some ways that faculty can help in the push for racial justice and equity in higher education through changing their teaching practices. The education scholar and writer Kathy Davidson has argued that the college classroom is one of the least egalitarian spaces on the planet. To think even a little bit about how the college classroom is traditionally structured is to instantly see what she means. The university and its proxy, the professor, owns the classroom. The students must follow the owner's rules. The syllabus is framed as a contract, but it's like one of those terms and conditions contracts that a corporation like Apple makes you sign before using the product. One side creates the terms, the other side has no choice but to sign. The professor controls all the elements that matter in our courses: how to approach the subject, how class will be conducted, what the students will read, and how the students will be assessed. You often hear professors despairing at the fact that students don't have a love of learning or only seem to care about their grades. But this behavior is only how we've conditioned them to act. We know that a central element of intrinsic motivation is autonomy, but look how little autonomy we give our students. Now, let's take a step back and look at the outcomes of our colleges and universities. We see that rather than leveling the playing field, our institutions of higher education help reproduce inequality and injustice. Here we have a graph that shows college completion rates broken down by race and ethnicity for the United States. These numbers are from December 2018. More recent numbers are almost identical. You can see the green bar represents the percentage of each group that completed college within 6 years at their starting institution. The black bar represents those students who completed within 6 years at a different institution. So we can see that white students and Asian students graduate at a rate of about 70%. 70% of white students graduate within 6 years in America. That rate for Black students is close to 40%. For Hispanic students, 50%. Over and over again, researchers have demonstrated in American colleges and universities, white students have far more success than students of color. Straight students have far more success than LGBTQ+ students. Students without disabilities have far more success than students with disabilities. Students from families with a history of college attendance have far more success than first-generation students. And in STEM disciplines, male students have far more success than female students. What's more, although a great proportion of these achievement gaps can be explained by factors such as residential segregation, underfunded schools, and socioeconomic disadvantage, those factors do not explain all of it. That is to say, even controlling for socioeconomic status and preparation, our educational system still favors the people it has traditionally favored over those it has traditionally marginalized. I submit that what we are doing inside our classrooms is contributing to these problems. I've called attention to the idea of the classroom as inegalitarian, as a space that marginalizes all students, led by a hopefully benign dictator. I want to think about the ways that our status quo in our classrooms might be contributing to these unequal outcomes. One way that it does that is by privileging the already privileged. Our traditional mode of teaching and learning is designed to reward those students who are good at school, who know how to navigate the status quo, who have been conditioned their whole lives to trust that the benign dictator will indeed be benign. I want to briefly discuss two findings in the growing literature on how to reduce academic achievement gaps in STEM courses. I chose these two findings because I think they illuminate in some ways that we can shift our approach to teaching in any discipline. They each suggest changes that take aim at unhealthy aspects of our current status quo. The first finding is the beneficial effect of what are known as highly structured courses. All a highly structured course is one in which class time is configured as a time and place in which students do the work of learning. Students come to class to do work on their own and in groups with specific materials and general concepts, in writing and out loud, on exercises designed by the professor to help them reach their learning goals. Compare that to a course without much structure, in which students come into class with nothing to do but sit and listen to the professor, who lectures at them for the whole class period. A highly structured course belongs to a conception of education that de-emphasizes the professor's expertise in content knowledge and emphasizes her expertise in how people learn. In courses which instructors design to give students plenty of structured opportunities for practice and feedback, we see the gap between marginalized students and their white peers shrink significantly. This meta-study published this year analyzed studies that involved more than 50,000 students and found that active learning reduced achievement gaps in examination scores by 33% and narrowed gaps in passing rates by 45%. Active learning is another term for what goes on in these highly structured courses. The second finding has to do with the instructor's mindset. This research builds on work on fixed and growth mindsets pioneered by Carol Dweck. People with a fixed mindset believe that intelligence and ability is a set quality in each of us, impervious to what we do. People with a growth mindset, by contrast, believe that intelligence and ability are malleable quantities that they can grow with effort and education. This frankly mind-blowing study, published last year, surveyed 150 STEM professors about their mindsets. What they found was that professors who believed that intelligence and ability are fixed taught classes in which white students did far better than underrepresented minority students. Those classes taught by professors with a growth mindset, by contrast, had much smaller gaps. The authors found that a faculty member's mindset had a bigger influence on equity in their classroom than any other characteristic, including the professor's race. Increased structure and opportunities for active learning, and a growth mindset. Why do these two things work? In my opinion, they work because they counteract two of the most unhealthy aspects of the traditional classroom. Increasing structure pushes against the concept of the classroom as revolving around the professor. Instead of the professor's expertise determining the shape of the course, it becomes the students and their particular individual needs that shape the course. A growth mindset pushes against the concept of the classroom as a battle royale between students, in which the smartest kids will vanquish the dumb ones and the professor will be the referee. When we envision our classrooms as a proving ground to measure one person's ability against another, we privilege those students that the world has told over and over again that they are more capable, more intelligent, and more deserving. We privilege those students who already feel they belong, who have already learned that school works for them. My research tells me that our educational institutions, and in particular our traditional classroom practices, are a crucial element of social injustice, of the many institutions conspiring to keep the powerful powerful and the marginalized weak. As faculty members, the push for racial justice can begin in our classrooms, in our approach to our teaching, in our view of our students. I call on all college instructors to interrogate their practices, to think about all the ways that their classrooms embody the status quo, and to look for ways to make their courses work for all students, not just the ones who have traditionally excelled. This involves decentering ourselves and our expertise and emphasizing our students' learning and capacity for growth. When professors de-emphasize their authority and student against student competition, they create a learning environment that works for more students. If you're striking today, take some time to think about how you can make your classroom more egalitarian tomorrow. Thank you.